Hello, welcome to How to Level Up with Mage in standard mode. So this is a class which I didn't play at the beginning. At the beginning it was actually a very popular class. This is a different version of it, more modern version of it, and which is probably going to last until sort of the end of the season or whatever. So for the next few months. Really, really strong. And the reason is because of this, Grammagus Antonitis. So this actually, if you think about, the important thing to realize with this is that the fireball is actually affected by the extra spell damage. So it means that that's actually going to do 27 damage, and you could potentially have more damage. For instance, I often like to take Primordial, I take Thalnos from that, so you could do more damage. And fulfilling the actual requirement there is not too difficult. It's a bit funny how the card works, like it doesn't show you until it's your turn. So sometimes it's like you have to keep in mind obviously what cards you're playing, which class you're playing. But you've obviously got a lot of different cards that you can play here. You have a Hot Streak, you've got Ignite, of course, you've got Fire Cell, and you've got... Is that it? Well, you can obviously get more Fireball, obviously, but you can always get more extra cards from Primordial Studies. And the other thing, of course, is the Ruined Orb, which also lets you discover more stuff. Generally, like, especially as you... This obviously helps you level up this deck, but generally, a good tip is that what will tend to happen, and it's a lot of classes, is that they're going to be quite aggressive. So your health will be quite low. And you can see why this card works when you played a lot of games with it, because your health will be quite low. I mean, you can basically switch it all up in like one turn. Obviously, having Yogg-Saron is... It's always... Depending on how long the game's going, this could be a big way to change the outcome of the game. But the game will generally go as is like an old school, like rogue style. Like you go behind a lot, and then you sort of turn the tables at the end. And pretty cool. Like some people will try not to. If you don't have ice barrier, I mean, there are certain issues that you have to always keep in mind. If you don't have ice barrier, it's actually not that simple to play because you can't just play flurry on an empty board because it won't work. Like there's sometimes like there were issues with that you could just do something on an empty board. Like you could flame strike an empty board, but you can't do a flurry. Even though it's not targeting anything. Like I think there used to be a thing where you could do something, but it just wouldn't work properly, right? I remember there was something with multi-shot as well. They changed exactly how that worked. Anyway, that's not really that relevant to this, but in general, you can complete the quest really early. That was the whole point, fun of it. I think I've got some optimal plays, and I think I was doing it on like turn 5 maybe. Where you complete the quest. It depends how well you do with it. This obviously got nerfed, but it's still pretty powerful. It's really just 1 mana draw, 2 cards, because you're unlikely to run into these two. There's always things like the draw 3 cards, discard any minions draw them. The 3 mana for Druid often discards a lot more than this will. Like, I haven't got a discard, even though we do have a little bit of possibility of discard there. You don't have a possibility of discard, but you have a possibility of this just not being that effective because it won't refresh the crystals. But yeah, it's really, really solid though, this deck. And I don't know, it's like, because I played it since the beginning, I sort of know how to play it. So it's almost like I've... General, like Incanter's Flow obviously got nerfed as well. But, you generally do want to play that pretty early. It's still the same sort of thing. You still want to play it early so you can get less. You still don't want to play Cram Session until you've got obviously 4 cards for what could be 1 or even 0 mana. That's when you can get to the point where you can really just win very, very easily. And yeah, it's just an amazing deck, really. It's just really fun. It's actually it's really fun to play. And in this sort of, I mean, I honestly, even though I had the cards before, I didn't want to play it because it seemed like it was just too. It wasn't like the meta wasn't. I like to play when you're playing it a more, like fully fledged meta, which is what we're in now, right? So it's more fun. Obviously, if these cards were 2 and 4, it would be even better. But I think then it'd probably be unfair on the other classes. But yeah, it's just an amazing deck, and you just need to balance out the draw, the quest completion. This is handy for Mutanis actually. They can sometimes pull. Obviously, you don't want because you could have 3 minions in your hand, right? So obviously you don't want to lose any of them, especially not this, you would think. But you know, there's well, I don't know. Yogg-Saron is the one which is basically is more okay to lose. So, but it's a counter to Mutana. Some of the earlier decks which had no minions at all, they're very at risk of because you're doing the quest really fast. You could get there. You could be able to play it before turn 7, before Mutanus. But if you don't, then it's actually pretty straightforward if they've got it, just to take it out of your hand before you can play it. So that at least gives a bit of defense against that. But yeah, otherwise, really cool deck. And one other thing as well is that it's often it's good to like chain, like for instance, like you could do 2 and then 2. If you can do those either side of the cut, that's going to be like, you know, really like good to do it that way. Keep any, you know, it's always good to keep like, you can always and always be prepared to trade unfavorably if it helps with your quest completion as well. So thanks for watching.